So 60 days ago, I made a decision that kind of felt uncomfortable. I stopped training for rock climbing the way I always had been. I've been climbing for almost 20 years, but the last decade, I haven't really improved. And it's not just the grades I'm talking about, it's more like my confidence and my enjoyment of the sport. It's kind of tough to look back at photos and see that your best days were way behind you. I really noticed it this year when I made a push to do more and more outdoor climbing. So as we went into the winter season this year, I wanted to change things up and really prove to myself that I could get better at this. I wanted to find out, am I actually stuck? Is this as good as I'm ever going to be? Or have maybe I been training wrong or focused on the wrong things for the last decade? Now, obviously I'm hoping to jump up a grade or two, but that wasn't the focus of my session. Really the focus was trying to climb everything in the gym that was within my range and just see how everything felt. This was the first climb that I filmed after my warm-up, and honestly, it felt really good. I was flowing through the moves here, getting all my placements right, and I felt kind of weightless. At the top, I noticed I wasn't really having to pull that hard, and each move just went one move into the next. This was the first signal that something might be a little different about this session. This problem here was way steeper, and my strength training has definitely worked out in my favor. What really stood out was just how comfortable I felt on these slopey holds at the bottom. Here at the top half, it basically just turns into a pulling fest, and I still had to work for it, but it didn't feel desperate. I felt confident with each move, and I made my way right here to the finish. All right, that was a really good start to the session, and I was starting to feel really confident. It wasn't that I was sending harder problems yet, but these ones that maybe would have given me a challenge just a few months ago felt really calm and smooth. I think the part that I was most excited about is I wasn't rushing through the problems. I was able to just flow through them. It seemed like my thinking was keeping up with my body. I was watching a few other people struggle on this climb while I was warming up. So to be honest, I was a little worried about it. But then I just got refocused, checked all the holds, and I really surprised myself by flashing it. I was worried it was going to be about finger strength, but it was more about just staying strong in my core. This climb is up the steep 45-degree section of the gym, and it starts off pretty calm. But as you see here, as we move up the wall, the holds go slopey and the feet start to disappear. So you've really got to get it dialed in. I was confident in my moves as I was able to swing my feet over here, and I got a little lost. Luckily, my strength held me through, but as I go for the finish here, my old habits caught up. Right here, I lost all my confidence. I felt really heavy and I had to move around quickly. But I took a deep breath, focused, and found this finishing position. That's a huge improvement. This problem got me stumped. It's got a funny toe hook start, and I haven't really practiced these much before, so I couldn't find the right body position. If you got any tricks or tips, definitely leave me a comment. But for me, this just felt frustrating, which is too bad, because the rest of the climb seemed doable. I gave it a couple more shots, but I decided to save my energy for the rest of the session. I wasn't feeling too confident on this climb, but I wanted to try it anyways. The start looked like it needed a really tricky position, which I think I found here, but I wasn't able to pull off it. The next holds were within reach, so I decided to just play around a little bit and see how it felt. Yeah, maybe tomorrow. Okay, I was pumped to try this hybrid problem. It starts with a little bit of slab movement here, and the tricky part is you can see the holds on the camera, but from where I'm standing on the rock, I can't see the next hand or foot. So you got to make your way really slow around the corner here. Now, I don't know if the route setters planned this next move to be dynamic, but thanks to my long reach, I was able to stay in control and flow my way around the corner. From here, the problem was just straight fun, and I was able to get up to the finish by actually skipping the second last hold. Here we go on a steep yellow problem. The first move is not too bad, but then things start to kick up. As I throw to this right hand, I'm not too confident in its placement, but I keep moving. And I kind of rushed this and really didn't have a plan. Now, that first try felt impossible, but I used my brain to think about it a little bit, got a little bit better beta to save some energy down here. And as I throw for this hand, I really made sure to sink it in where it needed to be and then arch my hips here to land this hold. Now it was just a pure strength problem, and I was sure I was going to hold on as I stepped through to the second last hold, and there's the finish. I was really proud that I got this on the second go when it felt so hard the first try. I'm really happy with how that yellow climb went. At first, it was one of those problems where when you first grab that hold and try the move, you just pop off and it feels like, oh my God, how am I going to do that? But instead of letting that thought go into my brain, I just took a minute to see what I did wrong. For me, that's a huge improvement from where I was just a couple months ago. Feeling confident off the last climb, I decided to try this one, even though from the ground, it looked maybe like it was above my ability level. The first few moves are really tough. I gave it another try here by getting my foot up higher, and I was actually able to make my way through a couple moves. But as I got up here, I realized I didn't really have a plan, and I ended up popping off. I have trouble sometimes with these kind of bouldery comp starts. And I didn't really realize how to get control of this volume, and I just jumped on it, and I was having a hard time getting any space. But with a little thought, I realized I just had to move my body a little bit differently, and I was able to plant this foot and start to make my way up this problem. Honestly, after the start, the rest of it felt pretty easy, and I was able to move from hold to hold straight to the finish. There was a whole ungraded section of the gym, which is normal during the first week when the problems are up. So you have to read it from the ground and try to figure out what you're getting into. This one I was pretty sure was in my ability level, but it did have one tricky move here where you just had to stay really balanced and move up this hold. But after that, it felt pretty much straightforward. One more move and we're going to be at the finish. This climb had some really fun movement, a slightly dynamic start, simulating a real climb in a cave out in the limestone, and then a few big moves here around the corner, from here and there. The climb's pretty much over. It wasn't a big challenge, but when it was ungraded, I decided just to hop on it and see how it went. Now this problem I was really excited to try. It looked like it was maybe right above or at my ability level. A lot of body tension required to work through these very thin holds. I wasn't totally sure what to do here, but I saw the next hold look good, so I decided to just pull really hard and get up on this hold. Now staying tight through this section, I realized I really do need to get my foot across, but it felt really hard to stretch there. Now here's the moment I'm most proud of. Boom, my hand slips, I don't actually finish it, but instead of panicking, I relax, I sink down, find a better position, and bam, I got it. I was really excited to try this climb. It was graded right at my limit, and the moves looked challenging for me. I had a little difficulty figuring out this first move, getting around, so I decided to just skip it and practice the rest of the climb and see if it was worth figuring out. This layback sequence on these slopey holds took a lot of concentration and focus to not pop off. But inch by inch, I was getting better and better beta. I think if I would have tried this climb earlier in my session, I might have had a shot. But at this point, I was just gassed after almost 2 hours of bouldering. One more hard problem to try. I knew this one was going to be outside of my skill level, especially after 2 hours of training, but I wanted to try the moves anyways, just to see how they felt. And I was really surprised I got all the way to here, but I didn't have a plan, and when you don't have a plan, that's the end. Okay, so I didn't send everything today, but that wasn't the test. The test was to see if changing how I was training over the last 60 days made a measurable impact on how I was climbing here on the wall. And I can honestly say I feel like that was one of my best sessions in a long time. And not because I ticked some new grade, but I'm more proud of the climbs just a notch below, where they felt like I was in flow, I stayed calm, I made decisions, and I either flashed or sent most of them on the second try. We've only got another 2 months of this training program before spring rock climbing conditions are back here in Ontario. And I'm excited to find out if some of the climbs that shut me down at the end of last season feel easy at the beginning of this season. So if you're trying to get better at rock climbing too, or you just like being along for my journey, thanks a lot for being here. And I can't wait to show you the next video.